this is Cheryl, the artist of Art by TerraCotta, and I'm a creator of animal art. That is, art tutorials in acrylic, watercolor, and other mediums. Today I created an acrylic painting of a hummingbird moth, and I'm about to do a second painting, and I would like it if you would paint with me. It will take about 12 minutes to accomplish this, and you only need 6 colors: white, black, cobalt blue, crimson, pearl orange, or you can use raw sienna, and then burnt sienna. I'm also using 2 brushes. One is a 1/2-inch brush, and the other is a very small, delicate, maybe 0 or 1. Actually, it's a nail brush. And I just like it because it's so tiny that it does a very good job. So with one hummingbird moth done, let's begin the other one, and we'll begin with the colors red, white, and blue. So we'll mix those, and this is of course the cobalt and the crimson. And these 2 colors, when you mix them, they don't make black. This purple that you see is about as dark as I can go, especially when I mix it with a little bit of white. It's a little bit lighter, and so it's really nice to put down that background color for that hummingbird moth. I'm using the 1/2-inch flat brush to get the wings and the body down. Just a very light glaze is enough. Right now I'm just trying to figure out the angle of the wings, maybe the shape of the body and the head. Those are really crucial to get that outside outline correct. And now I can start darkening my colors, and this purple is darkened a little bit with the pearl orange. I have to be very careful because that can make it a little bit muddy, but just a little bit of the pearl orange actually darkens the color quite nicely. And I'm using that muddy brush to actually get those colors in the wings. A little bit of orange mixed with that purple really does set off those wings. To get that orange bead, I use the edge of the brush, kind of drag it down, and I'm pushing a little bit outward with that orange bead pushed outward. I don't know how to describe it, but anyway, it's really nice for, the orange against the purple. It kind of makes the colors pop. And these are pretty good colors for kind of the fan of the wings. And I'll be putting on layer and layer of color just to build those up and to make it look kind of feathery. The hummingbird moth has the featheriest, softest wings, and they flutter so fast you can't really see. They're like a hummingbird. It's just a blur. I've tried to take pictures, I can't. But anyway, yeah. So I'm darkening the head a little bit. I'm adding a little bit more of the red. The top of the head is going to have a little bit brighter color than the bottom, of course, and that's what gives it a sense of dimension. I'm mixing more colors, and this time I'm adding a little bit of burnt sienna just to get a more chocolate color. I don't want to add black. Black just eats the light and makes things rather flat, but the burnt sienna really did increase the depth of the purple quite a bit. And so I can actually use a little more red to have a reddish glow, or a little more blue. There's a big difference now between whether red or blue is dominant when I'm mixing it with the burnt sienna. So I'm really working with the eye now. By the way, my little hummingbird moth is 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches. And so using this nail art brush is it still feels like a very big brush. And you'll see that I drag the brush sometimes on the plate. That's because acrylic paint is quite thick, and I have to brush off the excess, otherwise it clumps, and it dries very quickly. So I tend to butter my paints quite a bit, and I've deleted a little bit of that buttering the paint. Otherwise this would be like butter the paint more than paint the picture itself. I've got some of the depth of the color down, some of the deeper colors, and so I can put some glazes on top now. I'm starting to give it that 3D effect. a little bit more color in the wings, and this has a little bit of the reddish with burnt sienna, so you can see a little bit of a glow that's appearing. A lot of the hummingbird moths that I'm seeing have kind of a brownish look with maybe a red. I mean, there's many kinds, but the one that I saw against the sunlight had kind of a reddish brown glow and some dark checks and lines and markings on the back, and so that's what I'm trying to recreate here. So now with a little bit of burnt sienna white and the pearl orange, I'm putting some lighter colors along the side of the face, and then using that burnt sienna to give it that warmer look, like there's sun reflected off of it, or there's a play of light on the wings. A little bit of burnt sienna on the top, and I'm getting my brush a little bit damp. It's not wet, and I'm dragging those colors out while they're still very damp, and now I'm just glazing over some of those lighter colors that I created, and you can see it's looking very like a moth that's been kissed by the sun. So I'm mixing in some black finally. This is about the only time I use black in this painting. I'm adding it with the red and the blue to really intensify that color, because I need to paint a very dark proboscis. I think I said that right. A proboscis is how the butterfly or the hummingbird moth drinks. And the proboscis is also on the elephant, which I did not know, or the tapir. And so I thought the proboscis was only something that the butterfly had. But anyway, so I put that word for you to learn because I'm learning it too. But I wanted a very dark proboscis, and I used the black to create that. I'm also darkening around the eyes, adding the intensity with a little bit of that black. And you'll see me when I'm putting color on my brush that I actually roll my brush. What I'm doing is I'm creating the point, and I'm getting it really pointed, but I'm also dragging the excess off as I pull it away from the plate. And so I have quite a bit of acrylic on the brush, but it's kind of linear. It's not clumping that way. And so it's some kind of technique that I learned to roll the brush, and it's very effective for those quick thin swipes and not, getting a glob of acrylic somewhere. I don't know what these little legs or feet or whatever are, but they are totally cute, and I needed them also with a very dark color. And now I'm starting to highlight with more of that pearl orange, which is one of my favorite colors. And I know that pearl orange is a hard color to find. I'm actually using the Korean brand Alph, and if you can find it in another brand, wow, wonderful. But it's kind of a transparent glow, maybe not quite a metallic, but it's very warm, and I love peaches. So this is one of my favorites. I added a little bit of red now, and it's just adding a little bit more intensity to the orange that I just glazed down, touching up those wings, and now I feel like the wings have a 3D effect in the body itself, just with that red and the orange glowing there. The tail needs a little bit of help. It seems a little flat at the moment. We'll get to that. Now it's time to wake it up and put in a little bit of whitening inside the eye. Not quite ready for the pupil yet, but we got to create some background so we can put the pupil in. You'll need a very, very fine pointed brush for that, getting that eye in like that. I'm now taking a little bit of white and highlighting some of the areas on the back, touched by the sun, just to give it more of a 3D effect. Some little highlights in the wing also. Those wings, because they're moving so rapidly, are going to create a white blur. I don't really know quite how to do that as an artist without messing up my painting, but to give the idea of motion and fluidity in the air, I'm using a little bit more white. And now I'm painting in the eye. This is with red, blue, and I believe some black, or anyway, with the burnt sienna to darken it. And again, there's a little bit of red with burnt sienna and a touch of blue. And I drug out those colors with a damp brush just so that it would be more of a glaze rather than thicker paint. So I'm in the final stages of the tail. Just some little touch-ups, deepening some colors. Need that eye to be very bright. You know, if you can get your eye to be sharp and clear, you're going to have supposedly a very good painting. It's the eye that expresses the soul of the creature, the animal, the person, whatever. So work on the eyes, get them right. Some quick highlights against the wings, and I know it doesn't really look good when you look at it up close, but when you hold the painting far away, the moth kind of disappears against the blue-white background, so it needs some kind of distinguishing, you know, color, some lines or something, just to make it kind of to push it away from the background. And these colors that you're actually seeing are what that really looks like. I was having a very difficult time getting the colors to show in my camera, but these are the colors that look like I'm looking at. This particular acrylic painting is a little bit of an experiment. I've never combined gel pen with acrylic paint, but as I was painting those snapdragons, something really needed to make those colors come out. So I added a little bit of gold gel pen, and wow, the colors really did sing. I added a little bit of white, and if I can add gel pen to those snapdragons, I'm certainly going to add some to these butterfly moths. And so I think that they actually look better by adding the little bit of gel pen this time around. If you like this tutorial, it would be really great if you subscribed or hit the like button or even made a comment below. Anyway, I'm going to be making this into a full tutorial with snapdragons and 2 butterfly moths in the near future, and I have many more tutorials on the way. See you again.